Member of Parliament Sarah Westcott Williams queries cooperation with the French side. First Vice President gives update on COVID-19 cases on French St. Martin. But first up, the island mourns the passing of one of its top civil servants. Those are the headlines for Friday, April 17, 2020. This is SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me. And now for the details. The nation was plunged into mourning on Thursday morning after learning of the passing of former top civil servant, Mr. Louis Duzanzon. Mr. Duzanzon was an author, historian, mentor, husband, and father. Louis Duzanzon passed away on Thursday morning at his home in Dutch Quarter. He was in his early 70s. A very quiet, calm, and calculated man, the late Louis Duzanzon always stood tall amongst men. He was a man of tremendous knowledge. We always called him the walking encyclopedia, especially in the area of governmental affairs. In the absence of internet back in the day, PGD2 Newsroom could always count on the deceased for his expert opinion regarding various functions of government. The late Louis Duzanzon was the father of our media colleague and newscaster, D'Angelo Duzanzon. Our heartfelt condolences goes out to the family. One of the persons who had the opportunity to work closely with the late Louis Duzanzon was the country's representatives of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, Alfonso Bladen.
I started working with Mr. Duzanzon on January 2nd, 1987.
What was the working relationship like?
Oh, wow. From the moment I started, actually the same week I started to work with him. Remember the capsule that was found last year?
Yeah.
Okay, from the first week I started to work with him, he entrusted me with the only clues that were available concerning that capsule, and he told me, I'm putting it now in your hands to find it. Mm-hmm. And from there, he basically guided me along the lines in archives, and he's actually the one who piqued my interest in archives. Mm-hmm. And he basically mentored me into the person I am right now.
How would you go about describing the man, the educator, the advisor, Louis Duzanzon?
Put it in a nutshell, direct and to the point, and he would never keep any information from anyone because he was always willing to share information and share his knowledge and share his expertise. That's the kind of person he was, always sharing knowledge.
Is there this one thing, Mr. Bladen, that you remember most of the deceased?
He had a, what you call it, a dry sense of humor. One of his favorite phrases were, when you ask him, Mr. Duzanzon, how are you? The first word that will come out of his mouth is grumpy. and he had this thing with, I don't know what you call them. He has always had these little signs all around his office. Mm-hmm. Like for instance, he had one that they kept that says, a clean desk is a sign of a sick mind. Mm. And then he had another one that said, be reasonable, do it my way. But he really had a dry sense of humor that if you have to really pay attention to know that he was joking with you.
Yeah. Undoubtedly, he will be missed. Anything in particular that you were able to learn from Mr. Duzanzon?
Oh, yes, definitely. He taught his staff several things. You know, some people, wherever they work, they basically focus on their task. Mm-hmm. But Duzanzon's method was, like he said, there's always a madness behind his method, or method behind his madness. Mm-hmm. He wanted everyone to be, I would say, an expert in the other person's work, and not only in your little niche. So, in training his staff, everybody could do everyone's work, mm-hmm. and even if half of the office was out, the office could still be ran because everyone knew everyone's work. And like I said, he loves to share his knowledge, and he would not give it to you, like for instance, on a silver platter, for example.
You have to work for it.
You have to work for it, because when you ask him a question, he will ask you what you think, and then from there he will just explain you why, and if your way of thinking was wrong, and how you're supposed to look at it from a perspective that goes according to the law, for example.
And as we continue now with other news, Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs, in her national address of Thursday evening, April the 16th, 2020, gave another update of the COVID-19 statistics. The Prime Minister also updated the press about her meeting with the Emergency Operations Center to discuss the way forward with the COVID-19 pandemic developments and how they will move forward after Sunday upcoming.
An EOC meeting was held with ESF 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10 coordinators to discuss and deliberate on the way forward in regards to the COVID-19 developments and necessary changes to the national decree as we move forward with the extension thereof after Sunday. After this, a full EOC meeting was held to confirm the decisions made. I'd like to take this time to update on the COVID-19 cases. As you know, our dashboard is available and will be updated daily. As of today, 4 p.m., 7 persons are hospitalized on St. Martin. 95 persons are in self-quarantine. 84 self-isolated. The number of tested persons are at 189. Positive is 63, that is 6 more than yesterday. Males 43, females 20. The number of negative testing is 108. 17 tests are still pending results. 1 is still inconclusive. We remain at 9 persons deceased, 12 recovered, therefore making our active cases for today 41. As I mentioned before, due to the outreach program now being carried out by CPS, we do expect the numbers to go up, as well as because we have continued now with testing of all those persons as much as possible who are in isolation. This started today. CPS was also in the Cahill area yesterday with the outreach program and will be in the K-Bay area tomorrow and on Saturday. Of course, because some persons do not necessarily choose to be tested, CPS will return to the districts to ensure that they cover as many persons as possible, and those who have been found to be sympathetic are asked and urged to get tested as soon as possible. Once CPS is in your district, persons, or they have chosen to go into the districts on days that persons are obligated to stay indoors. Therefore, on days when there is open for shopping, it is not expected that CPS would be in your district. However, the CPS as well as the community outreach personnel working with CPS are coming out and making contact within the community to update you as to when CPS will be coming to speak to you.
And as we continue now with the news, in connection with an ongoing investigation into drug smuggling, the police force of St. Martin, the Alpha team, arrested 2 male suspects with the initials KM and SW on Tuesday, April the 14th, 2020, in the area of Coal Bay, Simpson Bay. The 2 suspects were observed acting very suspicious after picking up a package in the vicinity of the airport. Their questionable actions were noted by the police patrol and customs personnel, who decided to stop the vehicle in which they were in and control it. During the control by the custom officers, 2 packages containing marijuana was found and was immediately confiscated. Both suspects were brought over to the police station in Phillipsburg after being arrested and are being held for questioning. The Alpha team is busy with this investigation. And still to come, St. Martin receives assistance in its fight against COVID-19. We'll have the details of that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
And in news from Friends in Martin at this time, First Vice President of the Collectivité on Friends in Martin, Valerie Damaso, gave an update of the COVID-19 cases on Friends in Martin as of Monday, April the 13th, 2020. The First Vice President also announced that the President of the Republic has extended the confinement. She is asking the public's patience as they fight this COVID-19 pandemic. The First Vice President was speaking at the time during her national address, which is held every Monday.
The President of the Republic has just announced the extension of the confinement. Please continue to be patient, cautious, apply the safety measures, and circulate only if absolutely necessary. Remember, these are the only way to fight against the increase of COVID-19. The Collectivité de Saint-Martin, in collaboration with the local health professionals, city doctors, specialists, laboratories, and hospital management in liaison with the national authorities, are working towards implementing a large-scale screening of COVID-19 for St. Martin. We would therefore invest without delay in the necessary equipment allowing both screening for all persons with symptoms, but also a large-scale search for antibodies, which would allow us to better assess the percentage of people who have been infected and healed and those who required isolation and treatment. This will allow us, when the time comes, to organize the deconfinement and the revival of our economy. The necessary funds have been secured, and we've activated as well European levers to assist us in this process. Medical stock was a concern. However, we've consulted the hospital about stock availability to treat infected patients. The hospital reassured the stock were under control. The Scientific Council recommended that each overseas territory implement specific measures which must be adapted to the epidemic phase and to the capacities of each collectivity. These measures consist of the prevented fortnight among new arrivals, the isolation of proven cases, the active monitoring of their contacts, and above all, the wide use of diagnostic tests must be decided and implemented, I quote, in close consultation between the authorities and the local actors involved. Among the 10 recommendations, one of them particularly caught our attention: immediately strengthening hospitals by doubling their capacity in intensive care beds for severe cases of COVID-19, reinforcing biologically laboratories with equipment and human resources from mainland France if necessary for those that diagnosed of coronavirus. It is therefore necessary that the state, via its regional health agency, reinforces its health resources in the overseas territories and in St. Martin in particular. It is a matter of national solidarity and a pressing emergency. Over the last couple of days, we are receiving gradually our full stock of masks. We have purchased 24,000 masks. They are intended for our priority services such as the Social and Family Affairs Department and for our services providers who collect household waste, for partners responsible for delivering meals or provision baskets, as well for the association that work alongside us.
And the increase of food prices on French St. Martin is also of concern on the island. The first vice president has also issued a warning on price regulation and says it is an issue that has her attention.
After receiving several warning messages from French nationals living on the Dutch side but working on the French side who have difficulties crossing the border or vice versa, this morning it was discussed with the Prime Minister of St. Martin and Madame la Préfète in our weekly cooperation meeting, and both have concluded that all measures were taken to facilitate this inconvenience. Concerning our price regulation, also after receiving numerous messages on the incentive increase in prices, we had a discussion with Madame la Préfète, whom despite her limited human resources, agrees to conduct as soon as possible a price operation. This, however, clearly shows the absence of a price observatory and a poor involvement of the Consumer Affairs and Fraud Control in Guadeloupe, strongly penalizes our territory and its inhabitants. As we are managing the crisis, we are also preparing for post-confinement. We've asked local distributors to start preparing to allow the population to purchase disposable masks at competitive prices in all stores as soon as the state's requisition has been lifted. Furthermore, we are currently drafting a call for expressions of interest in order to bring together seamstresses to make locally washable and reusable fabric masks according to the strict AFNOR quality criteria, which in turn will be at the disposition of the population for purchasing.
And in more COVID-19 news, with the objective to assist St. Martin Medical Center in its COVID-19 response, a team of 30 healthcare professionals from Aspen Medical International, AMI, a global provider of innovative healthcare solutions, has been on St. Martin since the 8th of April 2020. AMI's assistance to St. Martin is for a large part being funded by the Dutch government as part of overall relief efforts provided to St. Martin as it deals with the COVID-19 pandemic. Ashley Bryan, AMI's project manager of the team that is on the ground on St. Martin, provides an update roughly a week after the team's arrival. There has been some concern among the general public of St. Martin that the AMI team might pose a COVID-19 risk to the local population, seeing that the team originates from the USA and the widespread community transmission in many U.S. areas. In assuring the general public, Brian confirms that all AMI team members had COVID symptom screening and rapid COVID tests the day before leaving the United States for St. Martin to ensure that the safety of the communities on St. Martin, and all tested negative upon arrival. All AMI staff members had a COVID PCR, polymerase chain reaction testing done through St. Martin Medical Center prior to stepping foot in the hospital again. All of these tests were negative. It is very safe to say that we do not pose any threat in terms of imported COVID-19 to the community of St. Martin. And now turning to our weather forecast for April the 17th, 2020. Little has changed as the Atlantic high pressure system remains the dominant weather feature across the region. As a result, a gentle to moderate wind flow will persist for the next several days. Meanwhile, shallow cloud patches drifting in the wind flow may produce some brief showers from time to time. Seas will remain slight to moderate during the next few days. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Prime Minister responds to questions from Member of Parliament Sarah Westcott-Williams. We'll have the details of that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of Web Mobile Banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
This is SXM Daily News, and as we continue now with our stories, Member of Parliament in the opposition, Mrs. Sarah Westcott-Williams, would like to know from the Prime Minister if she is in communication with her French counterpart, and what are the measures being implemented as we go along and adjust our measures. Other matters that is of concern to the Member of Parliament are consideration for the fishermen, agriculture risks, and more attention to the issue of domestic violence.
But what I would like to know from the Prime Minister, who has in her introduction referred to communication with Friend St. Martin, but what exactly is the status of the measures on the French side? What are the measures? Not the status of the measures, but what are their measures compared to, for example, what we have here, in addition to naturally the joint measure, which is the closing or the controlling of the border. But what are their measures as we go along and we adjust ours? What exactly are the measures on Friend St. Martin, and in how much and in how far are those coordinated when we do something and they do something? So if the Prime Minister can brief us on that as well. Prime Minister, now for the other matters, I want to ask your consideration, and I would like you to discuss them and get some understanding as to how we can move forward. Consideration for the fishermen and allowing them to be able to go out to fish. I have taken note, for example, that our sister island of Curacao, in their lockdown, curfew, whatever have you, they have exempted fishermen, considering them part of the food chains, very specifically. So I want to give this to the Prime Minister and the government of St. Martin for consideration. And the same thing goes for our agriculturists. Same thing there, as we try to get these local produce basically out to the people. And so also that, if any consideration has been given, what is it? And if not, if consideration can be given. Prime Minister, I also want to ask your consideration for even more attention to the issue of domestic violence. Where these persons can go to. Now I know, for example, and which I commend them very much for, what Mental Health Foundation is doing, their program, and they are asking persons to make use of their services.
And in response to the Member of Parliament queries, Prime Minister Mrs. Sylvia Jacobs expounded on the questions posed by the Member of Parliament.
Questions from MP Westcott-Williams. The French and the Dutch authorities, as I mentioned before, we meet weekly. The measures are running concurrently, so they actually had the waiver program in place to regulate movement. So when we put our curfew, our avant clock, as they would call it, within the kingdom in place, that there would be no movement in the night, we did not have a curfew waiver paper or whatever the case is. We had asked and recommended and begged the people to stay off the streets. And when that wasn't working, then we started using also the documents that a similar document like the French. So you have the personal waiver, the professional one, and of course, Form C, which is the one that the French are using. So now there's a Form C from us, and the French translation doesn't come to me at the moment. Attestation de déplacement dérogatoire, which have the same effect. So the French and us for the border crossings are using the same. They also have shut down most of their shops, etc., etc., etc. They only have supermarkets open, and with us reopening our supermarkets, then you can say our conditions and our measures will be the same. Fishermen, even though it wasn't listed in our bijlage of the national decree, nor in any of the measures we have not been stopping fishermen from moving. This is considered essential services, everything related to food. So that's why we didn't mention it. Initially, the boats that brought fish from Sable were being stopped when we had that no boats were allowed to come into the lagoon. But once we clarified that with Customs and Immigration, that has been allowed. We just don't allow the fishermen to come off as much as possible or minimally in order to hand over their fish to the local markets that are selling fish. So anything relates to food and shipment and cargo is allowed, and any we consider agriculture and fishermen as part of essential services. So we will ensure that it is listed in the new national decree that will be establishing the way forward as of Sunday. Yes, we are doing what we can at the moment where domestic violence is concerned. We thank the Mental Health Foundation as well as the APAP, which is an association of psychosocial professionals who are also assisting in this. And from the police department, we have had actually a drop in reports. So if there is an increase, then I would like to ask the general public and the persons to please do not stay silent, break the stigma and report it. We have only had 3 reports in the month of April. We've had 10 in March, 10 in February, 16 in January. So if we go backwards or come forwards then, January to April, it's 16, 10, 10, 3 reported incidents by the police. So the numbers are not showing an increase, but if based on a situation, we know that it can have an increase because people are quote unquote feeling stuck at home instead of safe at home. And we ask that you report it so that it can be dealt with. And I ask those who are having a bit of a problem controlling their anger to do better and find other outlets.
And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, member of the anti-poverty platform, Raymond Gisseroun, is questioning the government support relief plan. He is requesting answers about workers and local businesses to receive relief. Mr. Gisseroun was referring to an article that appeared in the Daily Herald on Tuesday, April the 14th. According to Mr. Gisseroun, the main aim is to prevent layoffs and prevent businesses from going belly up.
It was in the Daily Herald of 2 days ago that the St. Martin Support Relief Plan was sent to members of Parliament on Monday for their approval. The main aim of the stimulus plan is to avoid layoffs and to prevent companies from going belly up during the current coronavirus COVID-19 crisis. A key component of the plan is government's plan to provide a payroll subsidy to the most affected businesses to cover up to 80% of their workers' salaries for a 3-month period. The plan was prepared with input from the emergency support functions and their relevant teams and task forces. 2 weeks ago, as Anti-Poverty Platform, we compared and questioned the content of the St. Martin stimulus plan that was leaked, with measures proposed by the government of the Netherlands for businesses in the Netherlands, Bonaire, Saba, and Sint Eustatius. Last week, on April the 8th, a 3-month 80% compensation for loss of wages was announced for businesses who apply for this payroll support program. The employer organizations, the SHTA, the SMTA, the SMMTA, and the association, the IMA, in February demanded a 90% payroll subsidy for all employers, including government and NGOs.
And this brings us to the end of the SXM Daily News for this evening. I'm Valerie Van Putten, thanking you for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again on Monday. Enjoy your weekend.